Judge Park stepped into the courtroom on Nexus 7 space station. His white robes moved behind him as he walked. The room was quiet as people waited. The metal walls shone under the bright lights. This was not Earth, but humans had brought their laws to the stars. "The court is now in session," he said, sitting down at his high desk. His face was serious. He had judged cases for 15 years, first on Earth, now here among the stars. Officer Choi brought in the next person, Dr. Lee, accused of breaking Rule 47B, using restricted biological materials without permission. Dr. Lee stood tall. Her black hair was tied back, and her eyes showed she had not slept much. Her lab coat had small stains from her work. "Dr. Lee, you are charged with a serious offense," Judge Park said. "How do you answer these charges?" "Your Honor, I admit I used the materials," she said. Her voice was clear and strong. "But 3 terrorist visitors were dying. Their cells were breaking down. I needed those special compounds to make medicine." Judge Park looked at his screen. "The rules say you must file 3 request forms and wait for approval. You did not." "There was no time," Dr. Lee said. "They would have died before the forms were processed." "Did they live?" the judge asked. "Yes, all 3 are recovering now." Judge Park nodded slowly. Rules were important, but so were lives. This was the hard part of his job. "The law exists to protect everyone," he said. "Even when saving lives, we must follow procedures. What if those materials had been dangerous? What if they caused harm to others on this station?" Dr. Lee stood firm. "I knew they were safe. I studied these compounds for 8 years." The judge typed notes on his screen. The courtroom was quiet. A few aliens watched from the back, their eyes blinking in strange patterns. "Dr. Lee, I find you guilty of violating Rule 47B," Judge Park said finally. "You are fined 5,000 credits and put on watch for 3 months." Dr. Lee's shoulders dropped a little, but she nodded. "I understand, Your Honor." As people left the courtroom, Judge Park noticed one alien staying behind. It was tall with blue skin that seemed to glow. Its 4 eyes watched him carefully. The alien approached. "Judge Park," it said, its voice strange through the translator. "I am Tor, observer for the Arcturian High Council." Judge Park stood respectfully. The Arcturians were powerful in the Galactic Federation. "How may I help you, observer?" "We have been watching human judicial processes with great interest," Tor said. "Your species has unusual methods." "Thank you." Judge Park wasn't sure if this was praise. "The Arcturian Council has made a decision," Tor continued. "We have selected you for the Diplomatic Corps." Judge Park felt surprised. The Diplomatic Corps was the highest honor for humans in space. "I am honored, but I am just a judge." "Yes, and Dr. Lee has been selected as your follow." "My. What?" Park asked, confused. "Your partner. Your follow." In our tradition, diplomats work in pairs who have experienced conflict. It creates stronger bonds. Judge Park stared at the alien. "I just find her." "Precisely," Tor said, all 4 eyes blinking at different times. "Your relationship begins with tension. This is good. Humans resolve conflicts in ways other species cannot. This makes you valuable diplomats." The judge's device beeped. A message appeared with the Arcturian seal. It contained his new orders and an assignment to report tomorrow with Dr. Lee. "But she might not want to work with me," Judge Park said. "She has already accepted," Tor replied. "The Pallas Nebula negotiations require human understanding. 3 species claim the same resources. War is possible." Judge Park felt the weight of this new responsibility. Yesterday he was judging minor station violations. Now he would help prevent a war. As Tor left, Judge Park sat back down at his desk. He looked at Dr. Lee's file again. She was brilliant, with top marks in xenobiology. She had saved many lives, alien and human. And now they would work together. The judge who followed rules and the doctor who broke them to save lives. His device beeped again. A message from Dr. Lee. I hope you're better at diplomacy than showing mercy, Judge. See you tomorrow. Judge Park almost smiled. This would not be easy, but maybe the Arcturians were right. Maybe their different views would make them stronger together. Dr. Lee arrived at meeting room 6 exactly on time. The space station's artificial gravity felt heavy today, or maybe it was just her mood. She saw Judge Park already seated at the round table, reading something on his tablet. "Good morning, Judge," she said coolly. Park looked up. "Dr. Lee, please sit down." The room was small but had a large window showing the stars. 3 chairs sat empty, meant for the Arcturian representatives who had not yet arrived. "Did they tell you why we were chosen?" Lee asked, taking the seat across from him. "Only that the Arcturians believe humans who have experienced conflict make better diplomatic teams," Park replied. Lee shook her head. "So we're part of an alien experiment. I believe they call it tradition, not experiment." Before they could say more, the door slid open. 3 Arcturians entered the room. They moved with a strange grace, their blue skin catching the light. The tallest one, Tor, spoke first. "Judge Park, Dr. Lee, thank you for accepting this honor." "Did we have a choice?" Lee asked. The Arcturians blinked their eyes in sequence, their version of a smile. "There is always choice, Dr. Lee, but not all choices are wise." The second Arcturian placed a small device on the table. It projected a map of stars in the air between them. "This is the Pallas Nebula," Tor explained. "Rich in minerals needed for advanced medicine. 3 species claim it: the Dorn, the Vex, and the Tauri." "Why do humans need to help?" Park asked. "This seems like a Federation matter." "The Federation is 67 species with different views on property," the third Arcturian said. "Humans understand conflict better than most. You fought wars over land for thousands of years. And that makes us qualified." Lee asked, surprised. "Yes," Tor said simply. "You understand both law and necessity. Judge Park sees the importance of rules. Dr. Lee sees when rules must bend. Together, you balance." Dr. Lee looked at Park. His face gave away nothing. "You leave tomorrow," Tor continued. "You will have 3 days to study these species before meeting them." After the Arcturians left, Lee and Park sat in silence for a moment. "I don't regret using those materials," Lee said finally. "Those terrace visitors would have died." Park nodded slowly. "I know, but I still had to find you. Rules exist for a reason, even bad rules. Especially those. If we don't follow rules we think are bad, why have them at all? Change them instead." Lee stood and walked to the window. Stars stretched out before her. There wasn't time to change rules. There was only time to save lives. Park watched her. "Why did you become a doctor?" The question surprised her. "My mother was sick when I was young. Doctors saved her. I wanted to do that for others." "Did the doctors follow all the rules when they saved her?" Lee turned. "I don't know. I never asked." Park stood and joined her at the window. "I became a judge because I saw too many people hurt when rules were ignored. My father was killed by someone who decided rules didn't apply to him." Lee looked at him with new understanding. "I'm sorry." "Maybe the Arcturians are right," Park said quietly. "Maybe we need both views." Their tablets beeped at the same time. Information about the 3 alien species filled their screens. "The Dorn are rock-like beings," Lee read. "They live for thousands of years. The nebula has been theirs for 10 generations. The Vex are gas-based," Park added. "They need certain minerals to reproduce. Without access to the nebula, they may die out. And the Tauri discovered the medical uses for these minerals," Lee continued. "They've built research stations throughout the nebula." They read in silence for several minutes. "All 3 have valid claims," Park finally said. "All 3 need this space," Lee agreed, "but for different reasons." "Like us," Park said thoughtfully. "Different views, different priorities." Lee smiled slightly. Are you suggesting we're a model for interspecies cooperation, Judge? Maybe that's what the Arcturians see, he replied. People who can disagree but still work together. Their tablets beeped again. Their transport would leave in 16 hours. I should prepare, Lee said, moving toward the door. Dr. Lee, Park called after her. I've been a judge for 15 years. I've seen many people break rules. Few do it to save others. She paused. Was that almost a compliment, Judge Park? It was an observation, he said, but his voice was softer. See you tomorrow. As Lee left, she felt differently about this assignment. Maybe they could learn from each other. Maybe that's what made humans good diplomats, the ability to change their minds. The ship shook as it dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Judge Park and Dr. Lee stood on the bridge, watching as the Pallas Nebula filled the view screen. Clouds of purple and blue gas swirled around bright stars. Tiny lights showed where mining stations floated in the colorful mist. It's beautiful, Lee said. And dangerous, added Captain Song. The nebula interferes with sensors. Ships can hide easily here. Their ship, the Harmony, moved slowly through the gas clouds. They were heading to Waypoint Station, where representatives from the Dorn, Vex, and Tauri would meet them. Suddenly, alarms rang through the ship. Red lights flashed on the control panels. Unknown ship approaching, called the sensor officer, not matching any known design. Captain Song looked worried. Shields up. Try to contact them. The communications officer pressed buttons quickly. No response on any channel, Captain. Park moved closer to the main screen. Can we see them? The screen changed to show a strange ship. It was shaped like a disc with spikes coming out of the sides. It glowed with a soft green light. Never seen anything like it, Captain Song said. And it's not in our database. It's heading straight for us, the sensor officer warned. Dr. Lee studied the strange ship carefully. Those patterns on the hull, they looked like writing. Can we translate? Park asked. The communications officer shook her head. Need more data. The alien ship came closer. It was now less than a kilometer away. They're scanning us, the sensor officer said. Very powerful scans. Captain Song looked at Park and Lee. You're the diplomats. Any ideas? Lee thought quickly. If they're scanning us, they're trying to learn about us. We should help them. How? Park asked. Send them basic information. Pictures, simple math, chemical formulas, universal concepts. Captain Song nodded. Do it. The communications team worked fast, sending images and data toward the alien ship. They stopped moving, the sensor officer reported. Minutes passed in tense silence. Then the alien ship sent something back, a series of mathematical equations. They're responding, Lee said excitedly. The alien ship moved to one side and sent more data, pictures of different stars and planets. I think they're showing us their journey, Park said. Where they've been. Lee nodded. They're travelers, explorers. For the next hour, they exchanged simple information with the aliens. Slowly, they built a basic language of pictures and symbols. Then the alien ship sent a new image, the Pallas Nebula with a question mark. They want to know why we're here, Park said. Lee looked at him. We should invite them to the talks. This could change everything. We don't know who they are or what they want, Park cautioned. Exactly why we should include them, Lee argued. What if they have claims to this region too? Better to know now than later. Park thought for a moment. You're right, but the other species might not agree. Then we need to convince them. They sent an invitation to the alien ship, showing pictures of different species talking together. The alien ship's lights changed color, shifting from green to blue. It sent back an image of beings gathering around a table. I think that's a yes, Lee said, smiling. When they arrived at Waypoint Station, the representatives from the 3 claiming species were waiting. And they were not happy. You invited an unknown species to these talks. The Dorn representative rumbled, their stone-like body grinding as they moved. "This is unacceptable," hissed the Vex, their gas forms swirling angrily in their containment suit. The Tauri, who looked almost human except for their silver skin, stayed quiet but clearly disapproved. "We made first contact with a new intelligence," Park explained calmly. "They have interest in this region. Their presence complicates things," the Tauri finally said. Lee stepped forward. "Or simplifies them. We don't know what they want or need. Maybe they can help us find a solution that works for everyone. Or maybe they will claim the entire nebula for themselves," the Dorn rumbled. "We humans have a saying," Park said. "Keep your friends close, and potential problems closer. Better to include them than ignore them." The three representatives looked at each other. "The humans make a valid point," the Vex admitted reluctantly. As they prepared for the new five-way talks, Lee whispered to Park, "That was good thinking." "I learned from a doctor who once broke rules to save lives," he replied quietly. "Sometimes you need to change the plan." When the alien representatives arrived later that day, no one could have predicted how much would change, or how important this meeting would become for the entire galaxy. The talks had been going for 3 days. Judge Park rubbed his tired eyes as he looked over his notes. The meeting room on Waypoint Station was empty now, but earlier it had been filled with tense voices. The new aliens, who called themselves the Rin, had surprised everyone. They didn't want the nebula's minerals. They were interested in the unusual energy patterns created by the gas clouds. "You look worried," Dr. Lee said, entering the room with 2 cups of coffee. Park took one gratefully. "Something doesn't feel right." "The talks are going well," Lee said, sitting down. "The Rin suggested the Dorn mine the outer regions, the Vex collect gases from the center, and the Tauri keep their research stations." "Too well," Park said. "Yesterday they were ready to fight. Today they almost agree." Lee frowned. "You think someone is manipulating the talks?" "Maybe. Look at this." Park showed her his tablet. "I checked the station's communication logs. There were encrypted messages sent to all 3 representatives after the Rin joined our talks." "From who?" "That's the problem. I can't tell." Lee thought for a moment. "Let me try something." Her fingers moved quickly across her tablet. "I still have access to some research databases. If I cross-reference communication patterns with..." The door slid open. Captain Yoon from station security entered. "Judge Park, Dr. Lee, may I speak with you?" They nodded, and Captain Yoon sat down. "There's been unusual activity around the station," he said quietly. "Ships arriving without proper identification, then leaving quickly." "When did this start?" Park asked. "Right after you invited the Rin to the talks." Lee and Park exchanged looks. "Captain, can you help us check something?" Lee asked. "We need to trace some encrypted messages." For the next 2 hours, they worked together, following digital trails through the station's systems. What they found was disturbing. The messages came from a ship registered to the Trade Alliance, Captain Yoon said. "The Trade Alliance?" Park frowned. "They're not part of these negotiations." "They would benefit if the nebula remains contested," Lee realized. "If the species fight over the resources, the Alliance could offer to mediate, for a price." "And the Rin showing up ruined their plan," Park added. "Because now there's a solution that works for everyone." Captain Yoon looked troubled. "There's more. I found evidence that someone paid officials to delay your arrival. You were supposed to reach the nebula 3 days earlier." "Before the Rin arrived," Lee said. "They wanted the talks to fail." Their tablet suddenly went dark. The lights in the room flickered. "Security breach," said a computerized voice. "All systems checking for unauthorized access." "They know we know," Park said, standing quickly. Captain Yoon moved to the door, but it wouldn't open. Locked. Lee tried her tablet. "Communications are blocked too." Park looked around the room. There must be another way out. He moved to the air vent in the ceiling. "Help me reach this." Together, they moved the table under the vent. Park climbed up and pushed the cover aside. It's big enough to crawl through, he said. Where does it lead? Lee asked. Maintenance tunnels run throughout the station, Captain Yoon explained. We can reach the central hub from there. One by one, they climbed into the vent. The metal tunnels were narrow and dark. They crawled for what seemed like hours, turning at intersections based on Captain Yoon's directions. We need evidence, Park whispered as they moved. Something to show who's behind this. The Trade Alliance ship, Lee suggested, if we can access their communication logs. Their ship is docked at Bay 12, Captain Yoon said, but security will be tight. They reached a junction where the tunnel widened enough to sit up. I have an idea, Lee said. The Tory representative seemed the most reasonable. If we can reach them, show what we found. Worth trying, Park agreed. Where would they be now? Captain Yoon checked his portable device. Guest quarters, level 3. They continued through the tunnels until they reached a vent above the Tory quarters. Park looked down through the grate and saw the silver-skinned alien reading at a desk. Carefully, they removed the vent cover and dropped down into the room. The Tory jumped up in surprise. Please, Park said quickly. We need your help. The Trade Alliance is trying to sabotage the talks. The Tory's expression changed from shock to concern. I suspected something was wrong. One of their representatives offered me incentives to reject any agreement. We need to warn the others, Lee said, and expose the Trade Alliance's plan. The Tory nodded. I can call an emergency session. All representatives must attend, including those from the Trade Alliance. Perfect, Park said. We'll present our evidence there. As they prepared to leave, Lee touched Park's arm. We make a good team. You see patterns in people's behavior. I see patterns in data. Park smiled slightly. The Arcturians were right after all. In the quiet aftermath of the tumultuous events, Maya found herself standing at the edge of her family's small farm, watching the first rays of dawn break through the misty morning. The weight of her recent journey pressed heavily on her shoulders, yet a newfound strength glimmered in her eyes. The past weeks had transformed her completely. What began as a simple quest to save her younger brother's life had become an odyssey of courage, sacrifice, and unexpected connections. She remembered the treacherous mountain paths, the kind strangers who had helped her, and the mysterious traveler who had shared critical information about the rare medicine that could cure her brother's rare blood condition. Her brother Daniel lay recovering in the village hospital, his pale face now showing signs of healing. The expensive treatment, which seemed impossible just weeks ago, was now a reality thanks to Maya's extraordinary journey. She had sold nothing, yet gained everything through her determination and the kindness of unexpected allies. The old healer in the mountain village had been right. Courage is not about having no fear, he had told her, but about moving forward despite that fear. Those words echoed in her mind as she recalled the dangerous nights spent traveling through unfamiliar territories. The moments when she thought she might not survive, let alone succeed in her mission. Her parents, who had initially been skeptical of her wild plan, now looked at her with a mixture of pride and amazement. They had always seen Maya as the quiet, reserved daughter, the one who rarely spoke up or took risks. Now, she had become a symbol of hope and resilience in their small community. The journey had taught her more than she could have ever imagined. She learned about human kindness from the truck driver who gave her a free ride, the farmer who shared his meager food, and the elderly woman who provided her shelter during a dangerous storm. Each encounter had restored her faith in humanity, showing her that goodness exists in the most unexpected places. Her brother's illness had been a blessing in disguise. It forced her to discover strengths she never knew she possessed. She had navigated complex bureaucracies, negotiated with medical professionals, and traveled across challenging terrains, all while maintaining hope and composure. The medicine that would save Daniel was not just a medical solution, but a testament to human connection. It represented the collective effort of strangers who had helped Maya during her incredible journey. Each person who had extended a helping hand had contributed to this moment of healing. As the sun continued to rise, Maya reflected on the transformative power of love and determination. Her mission had never been about personal glory or recognition. It was a pure, selfless act driven by her deep love for her brother and her unwavering belief that solutions exist for those brave enough to seek them. The village slowly came to life around her. Farmers began their morning work, children prepared for school, and the rhythmic sounds of daily life resumed. But for Maya, everything felt different. She was no longer the same person who had set out weeks ago with a desperate hope. Her story would become a quiet legend in the community, not through dramatic retellings, but through the subtle inspiration she provided to others. Young girls would look at her and understand that limitations are often self-imposed, and true strength comes from compassion, persistence, and belief. Daniel's recovery represented more than just a medical miracle. It symbolized the power of human connection, the importance of never giving up, and the extraordinary potential that lies within ordinary people willing to take extraordinary steps. As she walked back to her home, Maya felt a sense of peace. The journey had changed her, but not in ways she could have predicted. She had discovered a version of herself she never knew existed, resilient, courageous, and capable of moving mountains for those she loved. The morning light embraced her, casting a warm glow on her determined face. Her journey was complete, but her story was just beginning.